Shalom, Yasha'Allah. First and foremost, we get all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash, the honor to our apostles, the elders, a great millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect that's pushing this great gospel sincerity and truth. This is your brother Tazakai Yahweh from the great millstone in Indianapolis camp, coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and Lord will be edifying. So I got some on Yahoo News, and it reads, Europe is wargaming a food crisis. And this came out March 5th, 2024, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. And if one don't know what a war game is, it's like a military exercise carried out to test or improve tactical expertise, and also like a simulated battle or campaign to test military concepts, and usually conducting in conferences by officers acting as opposing staff. So pretty much pretty much what's going to over here say engage in a campaign or course of action using strategies. So they're trying to use different strategies to ultimately stop a food crisis, right? So reading it says the combined forces of El Nino and La Nina have crippled Latin American soy output. Ukrainian and Russian grain farmers have gone to war. Indonesia has banned shipments of palm oil to Europe, while China is hungry for crops. The Mediterranean region is getting more like a desert. It says the year is 2024. Food shortage in Europe. The only question is when, but they don't listen, says an unidentified voice in the video broadcast. The audience sits quietly, listening. The dramatic collision of events, of course, hasn't yet come to pass, but over 2 days in central Brussels last month, some 60 European Union and government officials, food security experts, industry representatives, and a few journalists gathered to confront the possibility of something barely on the radar a few years ago, a full-blown food crisis. The group sat down in a refurbished Art Deco shell building to simulate what might happen. So this is, like I said, it's a simulation. But think about it. Didn't they do like a simulation for the whole crown situation? Apostle R3 called the sea ragamuffin. But remember they did matter of fact, they did a simulation for that. They also did like another simulation, I think, for famines or whatever, or ultimately like an outbreak as well. You know what I mean? So this is them pretty much, if it goes by how they normally do, because, the devil always plays his hand first before he do things. Again, which it could be generated by man-made causes, or it could naturally come to pass. But at the end of the day, it's the Lord putting whatever happens in motion. So again, this is a simulation, but if you really look at, what's going on around the world, man, there's been a lot of food shortages, a lot of supply chain disruptions, things been going down the drain as far as like crop failure, agricultural yield, and this and that. A lot of places are only getting yields of maybe, let's say they plant like soy, and they normally can yield, let's say 70% or 60% of what they planted. Those numbers are being cut in half, and then in some cases they've been tripling over the past few years. So again, it's called as a simulation, but there are actual real places around the world actually experiencing a food crisis. But the places who people think that it won't happen, that's when it's gonna hit the hardest. And this is for Europe. Going on, it says which is ultimately it said the EU. So what? This the beast, the NATO and the EU, But again, primarily speaking about Europe, it says a few streets away, Slovakia. The group sat down in the refurbished Art Deco shell building to simulate what might happen and help design. So they say what might happen, but we know prophecy says that it's going to come to pass. And help design policies aimed at prevention and response. A few streets away, farmers were stepping up their protests against the EU, disrupting supplies to supermarkets as if to sharpen the focus of the participants. The plush co-working space was hardly a bunker or secure basement in a war zone, but the video images of drought, see, that's another cause too, lack of rain, rainfall, whatever, rivers drying up, so forth and so on, floods, right, and civil unrest, to the pounding beat of ominous music created a sense of urgency, right, for the floods too, like I said, overwatering, so it can destroy crops as well. It says expect a level of chaos, warned Peter Magnusowski. It says a system I learned, a game designer who has worked with the United Nations. So you may be confused at times and not have enough information. There will be time travel, So here they go, that madness. But it say to watch one of the best fared regions in the world stress test its food systems underscores a growing level of alarm among governments over securing supplies for their population. So even though they, like I said, they did like a simulation, it really caught the attention of these governments. And it says in the space of 4 years, you know what? Salakia. People get to calling you and I'm seeing all these. Yeah, I knew that I missed something. Thought how about you, Shai, for allowing me to realize that. But going on, they cut your whole feed off. But going on, it says Salakia. In the space of 4 years, multiple shocks have shaken up the way food is grown, distributed, and consumed. See, because why? Because the sea ragamuffin, pandemic, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and disruptions on key shipping routes have disrupted supply chains and sent prices soaring. Erratic and extreme weather now regularly disturbs farming. Against that backdrop, officials are no longer asking when a food crisis may arrive, but rather how many crises they can deal with at once. So ultimately they telling you they know they gonna come. They know that these crises gonna come. Now they just trying to figure out how they gonna be able to deal with it all, right? There's no stopping them because you can't stop it because ultimately it's prophecy. But now, like I said, when they did these simulations, now they got them really thinking like, shit, well, we know it's gonna happen, so we need to start, making preparation to deal with it. But at the end of the day, they ain't gonna be able to deal with it because it's of the Lord's will. It said, and so it's 2025, and there are more harvest failures. They impact animal feed prices, which curb livestock and fish production. Some ships carrying crops turn away from Europe to cater to higher builders elsewhere. Asia's palm oil exports limits are now reducing supplies of daily staples from margarine to bread. Allegations of corporate greed, disinformation, and conspiracy theories are spreading. The timeliness in terms of the topic was incredibly on point, said Katja Svensson, a senior food systems advisor to the Nordic Council of Ministers who participated in the simulation. She now wants her region to hold its own. When it comes to movies, it's engrossing. You really become a part of it, and it has a far greater impact, she said. Stress testing has been a common feature in the banking industry since the financial crisis, while government officials and policymakers in the U.S. have done some so-called wargaming from time to time. Even one involving a pandemic just months before. That's a spirit. That's exactly what I just said, a few minutes ago. Like, they war game that, the ragamuffin, and then what happened? It came out, so they said this devil man, scripture say for we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, right? Sometimes the devil, man, like the Apostle Hart say, man, the clock is right 2 times out the day. So yeah, they are, they trust in their lies, their falsehoods and so forth and so on, but it's very seldom. They'll tell your ass the truth, and they'll tell you something, and how the people are around the world be so lackadaisical. Mainly talking to really let's just say mainly talking to the wicked jakes, but even some of them boneheaded heathens like they they just lackadaisical. They just think everything's gonna be all right. Hey, I wake up and I can buy this and I can buy that, and it's gonna be okay. I can look this up. The time period gonna come where it's not gonna be like that. So, when they talk about doing the simulation, now they're like, the simulation happened before, and then this came to pass, and we weren't prepared. So now they want to try to start preparing, because this is a real thing. That's around the corner. As far as like famine, they say, in Europe, government-led exercises are rare, let alone one focused on food, according to Magnusowski, science director at the Center for System Solutions in Wrocław, Poland. Seemingly, Europe is in an enviable position. It's one of the world's biggest suppliers of foodstuffs, from grains and dairy to pork and olive oil, with some of the lowest levels of food insecurity. On average, just 14% of household spending went towards food in 2021, compared with some 60% in Nigeria and 40% in Egypt. The Global Food Security Index regularly ranks European countries as the most secure in the world, But there are vulnerabilities. Weather and climate events are hitting farmers regularly, costing Europe more than, I guess, $54.3 billion in economic losses in 2022. The cost of fertilizer and energy needed to grow crops and keep glasshouses running soared in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, some of those prices soared from 3 to 4 times what they normally would spend. At some case, and a lot of the farmers only was able to pretty much plant and harvest just to sustain their family. They couldn't even make no money off it. You know, it says things unravel further later in 2025. So this is they simulate what happened. You know, the crisis happened in 24, then 25. So that's what they still simulating. Like pretty much things getting worse and worse. That's ultimately the point of this. You know, this lesson is to show like things are going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. No matter what they do, no matter how they try to cut it, things are going to get worse. As the scriptures say, these are the beginning of sorrows. So it's going to get, hey, you got your beginning, and then you got to go through it to the end. So again, the scriptures say what? Destruction coming, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Ain't no peace coming to this place. Things are going to get worse and worse and worse. It says, thieves unravel further later in 2025. Thieves are looting supermarkets. Police struggle to contain riots spreading in cities. People in Germany can't find fish and meat at grocery stores. Livestock farmers are going bankrupt. Now, again, this is talking about in the EU. So, if now this happened in one of the, like I said, most secure places in the world as far as food intact, then what the hell do you think happened in Babylon the Great in these years that they talk about with these simulations? Same thing, if not worse. Because we know this is where the Lord really going to get down over here. It says, just read a little bit more. It says, meanwhile, the public's focus shifts to profiteering by commodity traders. Small farms fall like dominoes, while attacks on immigrants begin to become more widespread. Is the EU a sinking ship? Someone asked in the video. It's all the fault of liberal elites, someone else says, of course. Now for the solutions, participants split into groups with each person assigned a new role, from farmer lobbyists to food worker unions. This reporter played a representative of a trade group for oil plant producers. In circles of 4 or 5 with coffee and cookies, the groups workshop policies from crisis management and building reserves to food provisions for the most vulnerable. Longer term, there are questions over how to curb Europe's concerning over-reliance on imports of crops, like soy needed to feed its vast meat and dairy industry. So a task force attended by this reporter pushed to cut subsidies for livestock farming, wine, and credits. And today, day 2 started with a mindfulness session before focusing on policy proposals and any conclusions. There was little objection to the idea that diets need to shift towards healthier options and away from meat. Questions loomed over how best to manage food reserves and monitor the level of stockpiles. Participants singled out other topics for future exercises, from food safety and bioterrorism to countering disinformation and preparation for animal-borne diseases. The latter being a huge issue, and it risks becoming even bigger, as Svensson said. And true food governments in Europe are prepared for managing future food crises. So few, right? According to the Chris Hagedorn, a retired U.S. diplomat who co-organized the workshop, we've been living in crisis for the last 3 years, said Hagedorn, adjunct professor of global food politics at Sciences Po in Paris. There's a lot more to be done on every level. Crises are only going to come faster and harder. You know, so that's the end of that. So like I said, they're wargaming how to stop these food crises, these famines, and ultimately, as we all know, man, they not gonna be ain't gonna be able to do it. I want to start this right here. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein." Right? Woe, right? Destruction, calamities, hard times, evil, bad times, evil, destructive time periods, perilous times shall come. Hey, that's what's coming to the world, right? In every place. And I'm gonna jump down and say, verse 18, it say, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Because why? A lot of these nations, especially if you talk about America, a lot of these EU nations, pretty much, wherever Esau, Edom is, mainly is, and when they're running the show, so to speak, even though, like I said, the earth is getting to the head of the wicked, so they control all this that the Lord gave to them for a time period. But majority of those, Edomite, based nations will say, right? They have that pride or that mindset that shit, no matter if things get worse or whatever the case may be, man, we're gonna be able to put our heads together and formulate a plan, and we're gonna be able to overcome what the situation gonna be. See, that's the mindset of these people. But they say, well, for their pride, so what that high that like I said, that, like I said, the Lord hates pride, but that that how can I put it as far as like the definition? But they have this like it's like a pretty much a wicked. Matter of fact, let me go to it real quick. Oh, Slocky. Right here, a feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements, the achievements of those who one is closely associated with, or from qualities or possessions that are widely admired. That's it. Too high an opinion of one's own business. So they have a high ass, wicked opinion of themselves, and they think that no matter what the hell happened, they're gonna always have a solution. Man, we're this, man, we that. We've been running the world for this long. We're gonna always find a plan. See, the Lord, hey, like I said, He put that spirit upon them, and that's when it's gonna hit them harder. Because the Lord gonna make it to the point where you're not gonna be able to build back from that. You're gonna be in a crisis. You're gonna go down, go this and that. And the only way that you will be able to receive such type of food is when when the CHIP is, ultimately implemented. That'll be the only way that you'll be able to eat. But just like how we know the scriptures say, once you get that, you through. Period. And that's mainly, talking to your Israelites. Now the heathens, do what you're gonna do. But especially over here in Babylon the Great, you take that, you're through. So like I say, their pride, right? That high-minded, that high-ass opinion of themselves, like just their self, like I said, a wicked self. Because it's a way to have, it's cool to have some type of pride. Like there's like if you, let's just say how people say, I pride myself on this, but the pride ain't just like wickedly just overdoing it. Like they just, hey, I take pride in the things that I do, whatever the case may be. But there's some people that's just like, they feel like like what they say, I'm him, I'm this, I'm that. Yeah, that's wickedness, and that's how these nations feel like they are. They them, we these people, we that. Hell, nah, just like it's true. We take like I said, a righteous pride in it's true. Like it ain't nothing as far as wicked, but it that pride that they living by, hey, they go before destruction, right? It says the city shall be troubled and houses shall be destroyed. Men shall be afraid. Why? They say because a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. Why this is gonna happen? Because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So it's gonna become a time period where their pride is gonna be shut down, and they're gonna be running to and fro, breaking into people's homes and stealing this and stealing that, and getting war parties and this and that to go rape, rob, ravish, whatever the hell they can get and whatever they can take. Because why? It's gonna be bad times, hard times, troublesome times, right? It ain't gonna be how you see it is right now. Oh, I could just go to the store and things just be all good. No, that time period is gonna be a time of survival, right? This is Second Ezra verses 6, chapter 16, verse 17 of 144. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, right? Because these days that Ezra was being shown it was just horrible, and it was so bad that he was like, damn, will I be saved? Who will deliver me? Which we know Ezra will be delivered. That we understand, we believe the spirit Ezra and probably one of the camps prophesying. When those who are rightly dividing the truth. Not none of these false camps, but whatever the case may be. Right? Who's going to deliver me in those days? See, people think it's going to be sweet, and it ain't going to be sweet at all. It says the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, beginning of famine, right, and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. Now, does any of this sound good? Does this sound like any time period that somebody want to be a part of or live through? That's why people always say, no, well, that ain't going to happen for another 100 years or another, no. It's cool you keep saying that, when things wasn't popping up, but things popping up. So they're going to be another 100 years or whatever. Man, we in these time periods right now, like the dude just said in the article, we've been having crisis for the past 4 or 5 years. The crisis they already here, So the beginning of all those things come to pass. They say, what shall I, in the beginning of evils, right? The Lord bringing evils, bad times. What shall I do when these evils shall come? right? And what you ought to be doing is what? Seeking the Lord while you may be found and calling upon him while he is near. That's what you need to be doing. You need to be ultimately, like I said, getting grounded, believing, understanding the will you have about your mouth shy, give diligence to make your call and election sure. Because, hey, it's about to get bad. It's about to get worse, right? It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a memory. See, the Lord sending these as punishments, right? Because the world been living what? Wickedly. So these are punishments that Yahweh Bashem Yahshua is sending. But for all these things, they shall not turn for their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. But the people going to still go back to their bullshit. The Lord get their attention when something going on, and what the people going to do? They ain't going to pay no mind to it. Whatever, back to regular day schedule, this, that, and the other. No. It's going to get worse and worse and worse to where you can't just put it off anymore. This is reality. This is in your face. This is the new norm, which is going to be horrible, perilous times. Behold, victuals, which are food, shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in a good case. Man, they said, well, the price is going to start rising. They ain't going to continue to be cheap as you like I said, yeah, they got people, they're come back with a $5 meal, 2 for $3, this, that. That's just right now. Like I said, it's prices where, you may stop somewhere quick to get something. I'd have seen the price went from like $1.29, now it's like $2.30 to get it. $2.40 and $49, whatever the case may be. So even at these places that's considered cheap, them prices are rising up as well. And when crisis stuff like this and wars happen like this and droughts and all this and that, all these things happen. Got killed that wasp nest. All these things happening, it's gonna get worse, right? That sense of security, that pride, that we can always prevail, man, that shit gonna go out the window, right? It say they shall think themselves to be in a good case. You think you in a good case, but even then shall evils grow upon earth. It's gonna get worse and worse. Earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. See, the Lord, he bringing all these things, right? It say, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So there is set judgment for people, for a lot of people to what? Die from a famine. And if let's say if you escape that famine, then he said what? The sword will destroy you. So you're going to die in a violent manner if you don't die from the famine. But the point being is they wargaming this crisis to try to stop it, see what they can do, but at the end of the day, it's of the Lord's will for it to come to pass, no matter what. So that's pretty much all I got on that, man. Just got to understand, man, these famines, man, these things gonna come to pass. But the Lord said that what? His servants shall eat, but they shall be hungry. And again, I know this is primarily talking about the EU, but the EU plays a great role in distributing, food. Right, what's going on in Russia, Ukraine? They call that the breadbasket of the world, so forth and so on, and this, that, and the other. But it was just going through that simulation, like year 2024, year 2025. It was showing the pattern of things getting worse. That's the point of this article, and when I put it out there to the spirit, So, but again, like you said, the Lord said, what? His servants shall eat, but they shall be hungry. But it's better for you to be aware of these things that come to pass. You got to be in tune with the spirit and understanding the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahshua and why it's being done, which ultimately is being done for our case, for our cause, for what they done unto us and to his son. This is his retribution and payback to the world. That's what it said, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. So, Esau, Edom, all of the nations backing them, hey, this towards them, and also the wicked of our people. This is for their correction, for their judgment, for their payback. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to sincere Akim and Akwafium, or just the body, that's out there tuning in. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.